So what's next for us is to we actually, I didn't think about this earlier, but when we press these scenarios, we actually need to uh, we need to actually have macros on these scenario buttons. Whereas previously I'd thought, I'm just entering a zone. We actually do need to create macros by pressing each scenario so that when we enter a scenario and we look at our module for video and audio, we only see the appropriate displays and zones available to us for video and audio, respectively. Um, Additionally, I'm not only creating a selection macro for the scenario button itself, but then toggling in and out by pressing video, pressing audio. I'm also going to create so that, if I toggle one button to the next, the appropriate, just making triple sure that only the appropriate television names or audio zones is visible for us. So we're going to go in now and choose create by name on each scenario plus what is the multi-zone buttons for video and audio within each scenario. And this is an instance of something that will require that we recompile our project after making these updates, because we need to compile in order to end up with our variables in the modular macros or scenario macros listing. And anything that affects the GUI or what happens when I press the GUI, we ultimately need to compile after. So we've added those macros, select macros, and again, we look at the columns there, the output, list outputs, it's called, for each, for the TVs, for the IP, video over IP module, or for the audio zones for the MAX module. And here in our scenarios macro, we've now added our select macros for the scenarios or the contents within the scenarios. So here on the bar select, I press that bar scenario button. On the IP922 page, that element called list outputs, I want it to only show me 1, 2, 3, 4, because these are my north displays. I got to close that off with a comma. And I want my audio to only be set to number 1, because that's output 1, the bar audio. And so now I'm just going to copy, paste, and for south, it's 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, you see here the event in action is a property name list. So it's kind of like a mask of your list. Only show me certain values within the list. So instead of having all 32 there in front of me and having to drag my finger to see only the ones I want, this gets rid of all the others other than, in this case, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And again, close it off with a comma. And the audio zone 2. Copy, paste, come over to now the dining area. Now the private room. For video is my displays 4. For audio is displays 4. And for video is displays 15 and 16. So here's 15, 16 only for private display select. Audio for private is zone 4. Patio was my outputs 13 and 14. And it is audio zone number 3. Again, just referring to our system design. Patio displays 13, 14 only, or patio audio. So these are when I press the contents button within the patio. And lastly, we have our entrance, which is display number 17, or audio zone, audio output number. There you go. So these, by pressing the scenarios buttons or the contents within the scenarios, it's actually going to graphically make certain element or list, the naming within these lists invisible and only show us the respective TVs or the respective audio zones.